What really frustrates me is when everybody can see what the problem is. Everybody recognizes the problem. Everybody realizes the problem. And everybody has no problem complaining about the freaking problem. And yet when it comes time to do something, when it comes time to affect some real positive change that could benefit everyone and all parties involved, except that hindrance to growth and progress, everybody shrivels up and seems to shy away from what the big problem is and fails to have the courage to tackle and combat that problem head on. When it comes to the healthcare system in this country, this goes right into the whole Stupid America series that I've been doing all this month, that playlist being down in the description box for you to check out. Everybody understands that health insurance is the problem. That the problem with the system is the private health insurance companies. That the problem with the healthcare system is that it is a health insurance system and not a healthcare system. And I talked about this in my most recent video in this series, talking about how Obamacare is stupid but not socialist. What frustrates me so badly about this is that people are opposing Obamacare and opposing it for ridiculous and dumb reasons, being programmed to believe that it is socialism, even though they have no clue of what socialism actually is. They have no clue of how exact opposite freaking Obamacare is to socialism. The ironic thing is, the people, again, as I talked about in that video, that are opposing Obamacare now and calling it socialist and all of this, are the same people on that side of the fence that 20 years ago thought this was the greatest idea in the world. And the reason being is because it's not socialist. It was nothing more than a fucking giveaway to the true evil in our healthcare system, and that is the private health insurance companies, and that's why they must go. It is crony capitalism. Borderline, in my opinion, fascism. A form of it, to say the least, where you are allowing big business and big corporations to work lockstep with the government to set policies. Not just our elected officials that we can hold accountable via elections and what have you, but we're allowing big business and big corporations to set policies that benefit them and fuck over everybody else. And this is what so frustrates me so badly in freaking stupid America, is that so many people understand this, so many people realize this, and then when it comes to actually attempting to do something and really solve this problem, we've got people sitting there and saying, you know what, Obamacare is a great thing. It does this, this, and this. Oh, Obamacare is bad because it's socialist and this is part of a plot by a black president with a Kenyan Muslim named... shut the fuck up! Instead of using this lie, instead of using that lie, let's focus our energies into the middle to combat and deal with and eliminate from our healthcare system the biggest hindrance to growth and progress in that system, and that is the private insurance companies. When you look at Obamacare, like I said, it was nothing more than a giveaway to the insurance company. Somebody will sit there and say, well, it was great that they sat there and said you can't, not cover somebody because of pre-existing conditions and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, the insurance companies took a little bit of a hit there, but not as bad as you might think, because now you're potentially giving them access through Obamacare with the individual mandate to millions upon millions of more people that you're no longer even offering them a choice of whether or not they want it. You're telling them they have to pay into it, otherwise they have to pay a fine through the IRS every year, and don't think the insurance companies aren't getting their cut of that. So shit, yeah, I'll cover pre-existing conditions. All the while, I'm going to sit there and get all these millions of more people to potentially pay into the system in one form or another. Imagine how much more I'm going to make overall in terms of premiums. All the people that say, oh, it's great that you could cover your kids up to age 26 now, and that's terrific. Now we're preying on people's emotions and passions and their love for their kids and their family to actually make them think this is a good fucking thing. No, ding dong, dumb dicks, it's a bad thing. Because now you're allowing the insurance companies to charge family policies, and charge you more to have more people covered in terms of premiums and do a whole bunch of different things, again, getting more money. And I'll talk about what they do with that money in just a moment. And the biggest thing of all, not only did we fail to address the problem that is the private health insurance companies by basically giving them another way to access you, getting outside of that tax shelter from buying employer-provided health insurance, from having to sit there and deal with the employers when it comes to health insurance. Now we've sit there and we've created this new marketplace to all these other people could go to, and we have mandated that instead of doing something that changes the system, we're going to mandate that you hitch your wagon to these fucking guys that have created the goddamn problem in the first place. Does that make any fucking sense? We're now adding millions upon millions of people to the health insurance system in this country, not the healthcare system, the health insurance system. And all the while, we provided no real regulation, and more particular, in my opinion, at the very least, no real competition to the private insurance companies. We are allowing private health insurance companies to dictate the marketplace, to control the marketplace on all sides. I want you to think about this for just a second. Have you ever went to the doctor with insurance to, let's say, get an x-ray and it cost X amount? And you're like, man, that's expensive. And then you ever gone back and, gotten that same type of thing again, procedure, whether it was blood work or whether it was an x-ray, something that would usually be covered by insurance, but for whatever reason you didn't have insurance? You ever notice how that's 20, 25, 30% less for you because you don't have the health insurance? Doesn't that tell you something? When the doctors and hospitals are giving you a steep discount in the price, as it appears, because you don't have health insurance. What that means is that they understand and they know who the problem fucking is too. Because not only are the health insurance companies playing one end, they're playing the other end, and they're playing all ends against each other. For in terms of patient to doctors, the health insurance companies can sit there and tell you what doctors you can go to, what hospitals you can go to. You've got in-network, you've got out-of-network care. If you go out-of-network, you've got to pay more. If you're in-network, you go here. If this out-of-network doctor, let's say, was the best for what you needed, but it was out-of-network, you might feel forced to have to go here to the in-network doctor. Again, controlling and dictating the doctors and hospitals that you go to. Seems something fundamentally wrong with that. Furthermore, helping to dictate directly and indirectly what type of treatments and procedures and medicines they are going to cover and they aren't going to cover. Therefore, from the doctor's standpoint, dictating to them ultimately what type of treatments they may or may not provide or offer based off of the fact of whether or not the health insurance company is going to pay their part for it, or if they have to roll the dice and gamble that you, the citizen, you, the patient, is actually going to chip in and pay for that. Health insurance companies are controlling the cost and artificially inflating the cost. They are controlling the prices that could be charged. And they're also playing the doctors on the back end and the hospitals on the back end through medical malpractice insurance. So again, they're controlling the front end of this. They are controlling the back end of this. So many hospitals and doctors have run into serious trouble, especially private ones, because of the outrageous astronomical cost of medical malpractice insurance. All these idiots that sit there and talk about tort reform, they sit there and they try to address the ability to file lawsuits and hold people accountable and this and that. And all the while, ding dong, these dumb dicks don't address the fucking 800-pound gorilla in the room. And that is the freaking insurance companies. What other industry can you sit there and see where they're playing the patients, they're playing the doctors and hospitals all against each other, and the only ones that win are the freaking middleman, the private health insurance companies? How ridiculous is this? And what's even more ridiculous is when you really sit down and think about it, it could drive you crazy. It's like, how do health insurance companies and insurance companies in general actually make money? How can they sit there and ever make a profit? Knowing, let's say, if I pay in $2,400 in premiums and for my health care over the course of the year, and I rack up $10,000 of health care costs because I had something go wrong, and they only covered $7,000 of it, how are they going to sit there? They have paid more out than I've put in. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it's very simple to understand, actually, is that health insurance is really a front for these insurance companies to be able to make their money. Again, the true evil of this is that we have made the health care system the health insurance system. And as a result, we have made it a health insurance system where profit is king and profit is priority and profit rules. And there is something sick and twisted and fundamentally wrong with this. Let's say you pay $200 a month into your health insurance premiums. What the health insurance company does is they take a large portion, if not all of that money, and they sit there and play the fucking markets with it. They buy high yield corporate bonds and securities and stocks. And they sit there and make money through this. It's a whole process called floating that we could talk about. But not only that, they're taking your premium money, making a killing off of it in the stock market. And what are they doing? They're making that money tax-free. The only time I believe that they have to pay that tax on that money is when they actually have to pay out the claims. So if they sit there and let's say your $200 was generated into $4,000 and they only had to pay out $2,000 of that, then they paid the tax on that. What's the rest of that? It's fucking profit. It works very similar to the fractional banking system, the fractional reserve banking system that we have in this country, which creates the problem with our pricing bubbles and inflation and creates the fiscal and monetary disaster that we currently have in this country. Insurance is set up the same freaking way. It is basically a fractional reserve system. They take your $200 and let's say they pull 20 out of that to put into their on hand to be able to cover the basic expenses that they need. They take that other $180, but instead of with fractional reserve banking where they take that money and loan it out over and over and over again to create more money and add to the money supply and create inflation that way and devalue the currency. What they're doing is they are taking your money and playing the fucking stock market with it. So now we have sat there and created a system where we're providing them with millions upon millions of more fucking people that are going to have to pay into this system in one way or another. Allowing them to do what? Hey, we'll sit there and cover people with pre-existing conditions. Shit, sure. We'll sit there and cover your kid up to age 26. You're going to have to pay additional premiums for that. We're making so much money hand over fucking fist in the stock market through bonds and securities and stocks. We're going to laugh at this. Our cost could go up 10%. We'll raise the cost overall 20 to 25%. Make more profit that way. So that way we can invest more of that into the markets and make what? Even more hand over fucking fist. Patients lose. Employers lose. Doctors lose. Hospitals lose. There's only one winner here. It's fucking private health insurance. It is time to get the profit out of healthcare. It is time to get health insurance out of healthcare. It is time to focus on providing basic quality healthcare and quality preventative and wellness care as opposed to the cycle of sickness care that we currently have. It is time that we prioritize that. And as long as we have private health insurance and have allowed them through crony capitalism and borderline fascism to play the middleman to such a degree where they've made themselves the infrastructure where everybody is so afraid that if they go away, the entire system could implode, we need to take that chance. And we need to push that plunger and see what the fuck happens. Because the more we play to them, the more we get away from what should be important. You know, to me, as human beings, everybody has the same basic fundamental right to receive quality preventative health care. Maybe not everybody agrees with me on that, but that's what I believe. And as long as you have health insurance companies, for-profit entities in the so-called healthcare system, they create a cycle of sickness care. They create a for-profit cycle for themselves, meaning for-profit is the priority. Your care, the doctor's ability to provide the proper treatments and coverages and medicines that you need do not matter. They want your freaking premium so they could go play the freaking market. You ever wonder how could you afford to pay life insurance? Well, so many people never actually, cash out on their life insurance, maybe 3 to 5%, because people either sit there and let the policy expire, or they don't pay the damn bill. All the while, what has the insurance company done with that money that they never had to pay you out anything for? You have basically given them free fucking money to sit there and play the markets with, to put even more money in their tax-free war chest. Doesn't there seem like there's something wrong with that? It really does. Getting insurance out of the way is probably going to reduce the healthcare costs in this country by at least 20, if not 30%. Again, hence, when you go to the doctor for a treatment or for a medicine or what have you, the cost is usually 20 to 30% less if you don't have insurance compared to if you do. Imagine how much more affordable it would be, how much more the focus would be on preventative care and quality care and wellness care as opposed to this cycle of sickness care and for-profit care that the health insurance companies have created. It's time for people to understand that we have a real healthcare problem in this country. And Obamacare was just a crony capitalist, borderline fascist part of it. Until we have the courage to meet the challenge head on and take on these evil private health insurance companies, nothing will ever change.